Hello, hello, hello. Happy 2022. I think this is my first one, my first video since I have the new year has rang in. Anyways, hello and welcome. If you're looking and viewing live, say hello. And if you are watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. I always crack myself up with that. I am Jennifer Hart. In case you do not know me, I am a soul guide and connector is the best way I can describe myself. I connect people and information together to help them achieve change and growth and lead them on their spiritual journey. I connect them to the people and the resources, the info, and the events that they need to navigate. So today I'm super excited because I have a super awesome guest coming on, and she is many things. She would be called a spiritual designer, which I think is just freaking awesome. And we're going to talk about astrology today, and then also Mercury Retrograde, which is starting on Friday. And then she has an upcoming event, and I also have an upcoming event that she's going to be at tomorrow. So if you are looking to connect with people that are on the same journey and path as you, we would love to invite you. It's tomorrow, Wednesday, January 12th at 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are in California. It will be online, so it's welcome to everybody. Anybody that feels it, the title is actually called to connect. So if you feel called to connect, you have any curiosity, please come. Dani, the guest I have on today, is going to be doing a super awesome little blurb about the Capricorn season that's coming up and how it affects us and the vision planning that is associated with that. And then another great friend of mine, Melissa Acuna Dango, is going to be doing an energy release. And then we're going to do authentic connection breakout rooms. So freaking excited. It's the very first one, so it's only $15. So hit me up and I'll give you the link. Actually, it's in the captions. All right. So without further ado, let's get started for today. We are talking about Mercury retrograde. You might be like, what? Or you might be like, oh no. If you say, oh no, it means that you already know what it means. If you're like, what? Stick around, because I did not know what Mercury retrograde was. And now that I know, it makes so much sense. Like, typically, I'll just give you a little teaser. Things that happen during Mercury retrograde is Facebook and Instagram always have like a down. Go down. We can't get on. You think you got deleted, but you didn't. It's just that they aren't able to get up. So stay tuned with that. Let me bring on Dani. Hi.
Hey.
Hello, hello,
How's
hello.
it
Okay,
going?
let me tell everybody a little bit about you. So I know Dani personally. She's amazing. She has awesome energy. She is so knowledgeable. What she does is freaking really cool. Freaking is like my word of the day today. So she has actually, like, I was reading your bio and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know all these things. So I'm super excited. I'm like, this is a conversation in itself. But
Right?
you have appeared on national television, on American Idol and The Voice. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's a story that we have to, I want to hear a little bit about that. Dani has also worked with organizations like the Walt Disney Company, Wells Fargo, and Starbucks, and is a consultant for Bob Proctor and a leadership trainer for Tupperware and Mary Kay. She has worked with thousands of clients for almost 20 years as a leadership coach and trainer. Did you start when you were 10? I'm just curious.
Believe it or not, I'm over 40.
And she's developing the leaders of the future in corporate and the entrepreneurial space, and that is her passion. So she brings a unique holistic approach combining spirituality, astrology, and science to get results for her clients that no one else can. And she specializes in helping soul-based female entrepreneurs go from all over the place, I love that, and in their own way to take their power back. As a spiritual designer, Dani is a leader in the field of personal leadership, breaking generational paradigms, and intuitive astrology. She resides in she does not reside in Los Angeles, California anymore. She has relocated with her family and Jake, the amazing pug. I love that. Yay! Oh, I'm so excited to have you with me. Like, ever since we connected, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen for sure. Like, we have to do this. So first, real quick, I want to know about the American Idol and Voice story, because I watched those, and I actually went to a taping of The Voice. It was the coolest thing in the world. Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
It is super cool. So when I think it was season 2 of American Idol, I drove out to San Diego, and me and my best friend, and we stood in a line for like 8 hours
Oh my God.
just to get in to see like the first round. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about both of those, The Voice and American Idol, is that it takes a lot, a lot to do those, because you have to go through levels of people. You're looking at like executive producers, assistants, before you even get to see, the four. So it's a long process. It takes like a week just to even get anywhere near them. So like
Wow.
I auditioned twice with American Idol. The second one is where I went further, which was fantastic. But The Voice, man, that one's they drop quick. They drop super, super quick, which was really fun. Yeah, I had a great experience with both of those. I'm a singer. I love to sing. I've been singing since I was like, I don't know, I could open my mouth. And that was a passion that I had. Like my mom literally was like, I was in kindergarten, and it was the first time they kind of knew that something was up with me, because I was like the lead in like some like little presentation we did in kindergarten. And like, here I am, this like little 5-year-old stood up in front of everybody and like sang my heart out. And my parents were like, what the hell? Like, yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. That just, I feel like that speaks volumes to everything that you were talking about, that of what you're up to in the world now with helping people take their power back. Because I've met so many people that like love to sing and they're singers, yet they are like terrified or afraid, or they can't, get their voice out. Like one workshop I went to, this girl was like, I just can't sing anymore. Like, and it's like, there's something blocking her there. And so that it makes perfect sense now. That's so cool. Yeah. We went to Price is Right for my birthday one year, a group of like 10 of us, and our friend, he got us in on The Voice. We were literally the front row. I was actually made the commercials. What? It was
no way.
And it was so cool to see the behind the scenes, because we see it from one perspective, and this is also like a good life lesson, is you see one perspective of what it is being a viewer on TV, and then the other perspective being in the audience, and then you have a different perspective of actually being a contestant and trying out.
And you don't even realize how many really good singers there are out there that never make it for so many different reasons. So like looks alone was like a big thing that was like, if you don't have that look, out. It doesn't matter how great you sing. So even in The Voice, there's still a little bit of that. Not as much as American Idol, but yeah.
I was going to say The Voice seems a little bit better, because I remember the one lady, Susan something, that was like that singer. She was from another country, and she came out. Yeah. And they were like a little rough, but so it's super cool. Okay, we digress. All right.
Like, we can chat all day about this.
Questions, but we'll just chat separately, or I'll have you back on. So we are here today to talk about Mercury Retrograde. Like, I had no idea what Mercury Retrograde is. I've been into astrology. Hello, Suzanne. Hi. I'm always so comment. So I've been into astrology since I was a kid. I tried to like learn it and study it, and holy shit. Oops, sorry. Earmuffs. Kids around. Holy crap. It is a whole language in itself. Like, I will just attest to that. I took birth charting classes. I have tons of books. I've been reading and called to it for forever. And then I had never heard of Mercury Retrograde, though, until I moved to San Diego a couple years ago. And so let's start with that. Like, what is Mercury Retrograde?
So the simplest way I can explain it is, when from our position here on Earth, the way that Mercury transit, it appears in our sky that it's actually going backwards, hence the retrograde idea. What it actually is doing is not going backwards, but we take this idea and all the things that Mercury rules, and it's like Mercury goes and takes a nap for a few weeks. And so all the things that it rules are kind of like on their own. It's like when the parents are away, the kids will play. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, Mercury's taking a nap. The kids are out there running amok because they have no idea what to do, because Mercury generally controls what they're doing. Easiest way I can kind of explain that. But from a personal development, which is the way I love to look at astrology, is it's a time for us to step back and go inside. It's a time for us to reflect. So all the R's, like we think retrograde, it's RE, right? So all the R's, reflection, like resetting, returning, right? Reviewing. It's all of those times to just pause and look at what it is that we're doing. So before I go further, let me tell you what Mercury rules, so that way you can kind of have an idea of what may be going amok while retrograde sleeping. Okay.
Well, and before, let me go even further back.
Go.
I always think of who I was when I started on my spiritual journey and my journey of personal development. Everyone calls it something different. And although I knew a lot about astrology until I took birth charting classes and realized that we actually have a whole plan, and it's not just your sun sign, like I'm a Pisces, I'm a Scorpio. There is it's all the planets and where they were when you were born. And what I didn't know is that each planet rules certain things. Yes. And so Mercury is just one of the planets, and you are going to talk about what it rules. But if anybody is not familiar with astrology at all, each planet rules something else. Like Jupiter is
expansion, growth, learning.
Okay. Yes.
Venus is love, beauty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
money.
we kind of know that. Because we've heard like certain things. So Venus might be one people know about. So just wanted to like throw that out there that there's many planets and they all rule something. And tell us what Mercury rules.
So Mercury is our communication. It's how we think. It's our learning, how we learn, or our ability to learn, how we like to learn. It's also contracts. So any contracts we're creating, and there's a number of ways that we can create contracts. It's neighbors, our neighborhood, and our siblings. So it's kind of a lot. There's a lot that Mercury rules. And so as you said at the beginning of this, like Mercury retrograde, the whole Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like all those things kind of going down, think about it. That's technology, that's communication. Now, Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, actually rules technology. But you can see in today's day-to-day life, our communication is what? Technology, right? We use it. So these two work hand in hand. But if you think of social media, it's one of the primary communication tools that we use today. So it's kind of it makes sense. Like no duh why things go crazy when Mercury goes to sleep.
Yes. And so some examples like I gave already was Facebook going down and Instagram has gone down. Well, now they're owned by the same. So in the meta universe. And then we have, I see a lot of communication breakdowns. Like if you look at comments in groups and in Facebook or just in life, like there's so many people that I'm like, well, we're having a communication breakdown over here.
Miscommunication is the number one thing that happens during Mercury retrograde that people don't realize. That's why people say don't sign contracts during Mercury retrograde because of that. Like things aren't clear. And so one of the things that I always tell people is during Mercury retrograde, be like as clear as you possibly could be. like no room for any doubt, no room for any like assumptions, like nothing, like be super, super clear because the communication is off. It's like foggy. We're not seeing it clearly. We're not hearing it clearly. We're not understanding it, right? So it takes that extra effort. So if there's a miscommunication happening and it's during Mercury retrograde, like take a step back and say, wait, okay, hold on. Could this be a possible miscommunication? Am I not hearing this clearly? Am I not understanding this clearly? Or is that person, right? If I'm the one saying it, am I not saying it clearly? Do I need to say it differently, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The other thing I do want to say is short, I didn't say this, but short travel. So, travel within, not a couple of hours, not too far. We're not talking about like Jupiter would be more of the like foreign travel, the long distance type travel, but travel interruptions is something else that happens during Mercury retrograde. So if you're planning a trip, there could be all these little like detours maybe that you have to take or delays in flights happening. So especially right now of all time with all that's going on and our flights kind of being crazy and being canceled and delayed for a number of reasons, during Mercury retrograde, if you're taking any flights or you're traveling, like extra patience, extra like plan Bs, like, all the things to make sure that there could possibly be some trip interruptions. I want to put that out there because that's a big thing that happens. Like, this is the second biggest thing that happens during Mercury retrograde.
Okay, I think that's really important and good to know. I'm just taking notes. I'm all. So okay, here's my question. We have a whole list of them that we're going to go through, but like, what you're saying is that we shouldn't stop living life during Mercury retrograde. Obviously, we can't. We can't just like stop business, not sign
Close up.
contracts. It's just we're creating awareness of what is happening, and then just being aware that we need to be a little bit more like
Mindful
focused on and like observative, like, okay, what's happening right now? And for me personally, what I've learned through all the workshops that I've done is that I always attribute my communication to myself. Like, if someone doesn't hear me, how could I communicate better anyways? So now I'm going to be on even more alert, like during Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, like for things like this, because like you had to send me information, I had to send you information, and even in that, like if you're doing that during a Mercury retrograde period, there could be like a slip up. Like, I even noticed, like, my first email to you went to the wrong email. Had I not caught that, like, you would have been like, Dani, what the heck?
No, I would have been like, wait a minute, I never got your bio. And then I might have just not even realized it. And then here we are ready to go live. And I'm like, well, just going to make it up with what I know, which is
exactly.
Okay, so why should people know about Mercury retrograde? I feel like we kind of touched on this, but maybe you could we'll point it out like blatantly.
So people, like, I get this a lot, is people don't believe in astrology, but astrology is happening.
Yeah.
Like, whether you believe anything that is happening in this world right now, it is happening, right? We have to be, we're part of it, no matter what we believe, we're part of something, right? We're part of this. And so whether you believe it or not, it is going to affect you. So my number one thing is, why not be aware, whether you believe it or not, but why not have more awareness of what could potentially happen or what is going on? I'm a big planner. My ascendant is in Capricorn, which means like I'm super big planner, super big organizer. So that energy is already in me. So I'm always like trying to help people be a little bit more prepared. But even just knowing, like, if you were going to go on a trip, wouldn't you want to know like what the weather was going to be when you got there? Wouldn't you want to know like if the roads were closed, or if a flight was canceled or delayed? Like, wouldn't you want to know these things so that you can prepare for your journey?
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's knowing that, hey, here's some possibilities. Here's what is kind of going on. And now how are you? This is the empowerment part. How are you going to choose to work with it? Are you going to fight it and be like, F you, F you, Mercury retrograde, right? And try to close your door and not deal with it? Or are you going to work with it and be like, okay, I know you're coming in. I know this is happening. So let me prepare. Let me be ready, right?
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was just going to say, for me, I was like, oh, what's this Mercury retrograde? Because I also I like to keep what's I'm taking in clean as possible. I mean, I'm working on that every day. And so it's like, I don't want to create problems ahead of time, but once I learned what Mercury retrograde is, I also don't let it stop my life at all. But I did start to see like the communication breakdowns, like when whole platforms would fall. And I'm like, of all the times, like, and then I was just like, holy crap, like this is crazy. And I'll see it everywhere I go. And I'm like, is it like a red car when you think of a red Porsche? Like then you see them everywhere. But no, like it's not. Like I just saw it. And so now I'm like, I'm a believer for sure. But I also want to create awareness around it so that people don't go, oh my God, I can't do anything. Like my life stops. Like we can't live our lives like that. So
like, for example, entrepreneurs that are like launching things, like a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space will be like, oh, don't launch anything during Mercury retrograde. Now, I'm not 100% against that. Like, I think you could still launch. I'm just going to say, be extra careful about what you're communicating, like what you're sharing, like the links to things, the terms and conditions if you're selling something, right? Like when you're doing those things, just take extra precaution. That's it. but don't stop your launch. Like, don't, like if it's the right time, it's the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm all, launching a connection event tomorrow. I'm like just missing Mercury retrograde by like 2 days. And then,
Good job.
but I want to have more. And so I'm like, okay, these are good things to know. And I don't want to stop it and be like, oh, sorry, it's Mercury retrograde. But so like, speaking of that, so it starts Friday. And then how long does it usually last?
So it's usually anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So it actually ends on the 3rd of February. So I'm going to also, now we're going to get into a little bit more, and I don't want to get there, but there is a shadow period of before Mercury actually goes retrograde and after. And these periods are 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, roughly. Because of that, there's also things that are happening within that time frame. So when, as we said, it appears to go backwards in the sky, what's going to happen is once it starts to go forward or appear to us to go forward again, it's going to go back over the same space that it went behind, right? So it's like it's going to go over it again, which can cause some things to happen. So that's one of the reasons why, like, that 2-week period before and the 2-week period after. So it really is a much longer period of time. It's just the main kind of really big interruptions happen within that period where it actually is retrograde.
Okay, good to know. Learn something new every day. That was one of the things for today.
Check.
Check. Okay, so we talked kind of about how it affects you, the viewer, and people in general, and everything on the planet. Is there anything you want to add to that?
How it affects you and everything on the planet. Oh, so I don't know if we're gonna get into this, but I don't know if there's a question on this, but every Mercury retrograde period is different. And I say that because it is in a different zodiac sign. So I know we're adding another layer here. So first we have the planet Mercury and what it rules. And then as it's going through a particular zodiac sign, it's like that energy, that frequency of that zodiac sign is what we are all kind of feeling and experiencing. We see this with the moon in particular because the moon moves so fast. It moves every couple of days into a new zodiac sign. And so you may feel every couple of days like a different energy, right? Where you're like fired up one day and the next day you're like, can I just take a break? Like I'm done. Like I haven't even done anything yet and I just want to rest. Like I just want to be at home. Or you're feeling super emotional the next day and you're like, why am I like feeling super emotional? Or you can't seem to keep your thoughts straight, right? And we go through these patterns, and when we follow it, we follow the moon moving through these zodiac signs, it's reflecting that energy. And so we are experiencing that. So just like the moon, Mercury and all the other planets do the same thing. So this Mercury retrograde period is actually going to be in the earth sign of Capricorn, which completely different energy than, say, Aries or Pisces or Sagittarius, or like, from your sun signs, right?
Yes.
A Sagittarius is way different than a Taurus, right? Very different signs. Kind of the same idea.
I feel like you just described my life to a T right now. It's like, I'm always like, God, why am I so energized? Like 1, 2, 3 days, super working on my business, like all connected. And then I'm like, disappear, like don't want to talk to anybody, like introvert hangover, super drained. And I'm like, what happened? Like I was so on fire. And then like have a breakdown, like, oh my God, I'm a failure. Like, what is going on? So it's just like,
blame it on I'm gonna get a t-shirt that says blame it on the moon. Instead of like, do you remember oh my God, I can't even think of the duo's name, the lip syncers who were like, blame it on the I'm just gonna sing that, blame it on the moon.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we should do a parody. I'm gonna write that down. I love to make videos, so we can remake that. Okay, so that just in itself, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense because it's the moon moving through the different signs. And see, because I took some birth charting classes, I know like a birth chart, I don't have mine right here, but like it's a circle. And then there's 10 houses. And then 12. Each house is ruled by a planet. And then each planet has a sign. And each sign has a planet. And I'm just like, what? Like, and then there's the degrees. And I was just like, I can't. Like, this is just too much for me. I'm going to pay people to do readings for me because I was like, this is not my strong suit. Like, I'm very intrigued in it and I believe in it 100%. Like, I had my
Yep.
birth chart read a couple times and holy crap, like it was
Yep.
spot on.
Yep.
Um,
My mastermind group said that I should start a podcast called Danie Speaks Astrology because like
oh
it's like
yeah,
another language. It's like a total other language. Yeah.
it is. It is. I like, yes, 100% is such a different language. And the more podcasts and information that's out there, the better.
Right.
Okay. So if you're just
With you.
joining us, I see people are hopping on and off. We are talking about Mercury retrograde and astrology in general. Danie is an intuitive astrologist, and we were just talking about how it affects us and everything on the planet. So let's get into we can prepare for it. We talked a little bit about that, but let's dive a little deeper, and then how to use it in our favor.
Yes. So
Maybe that's two different things. So let's just start with how to prepare.
like, let's start with prepare.
Yeah.
Let's start with prepare. Okay, so preparing, a couple of things is we know that it rules our communication. So I would recommend looking at any communication that you have coming out, especially if you're an entrepreneur, like what kind of emails do you have coming out? What kind of messaging do you have coming out? Like just double check it, right? Just be careful on what you're putting out. And if you're trying to launch something, again, double check all the things. So preparing our communication. If there's a speech you're giving, right? Or a talk you're giving, or a presentation you're giving at work, or a project you're working on, again, just be mindful of the communication that is coming out over the next couple of weeks. A second thing is technology. Even though Mercury technically doesn't rule technology, it is our primary communication. So what I would say is do some clearing, do some clearing, not only physically, but energetically of your technology. Like how often do you clear your laptop or your cameras or your phones for that matter? Whatever type of technology you are using or going to be using over the next period, like take a minute and clear them, clean them with good old rag and soap, but then also energetically. So depending on what you do, obviously sage is always a good thing, but just make sure that when you use sage, you're also adding some other energy, because sage is such a powerful vacuum. It like sucks all the stuff out. You want to make sure you're bringing some other type of energy in just to protect it.
Do you have any recommendations on that? Because I only use sage. So
yeah, anything you could, any of the other incense is fine. If you don't want, you could use Palo Santo instead of
I do have
sage.
a Palo Santo.
Yeah, that it's a softer softer one, and you don't need to do something after. But sometimes I'll do like if I sage, I use dragon blood primarily. So then I'll seal it after with like a rosemary or patchouli. I can't never say it.
Julie.
Patchouli. There you go.
Oh, that's
Patchouli.
my favorite. Okay.
I'll usually seal it with one of those.
So because I'm essential oil user,
Yes,
would
right.
like diffusing essential oils
Yes.
be the sealer? Okay, because
Yep.
patchouli is like my number one favorite oil. Anybody
Yeah.
listening, I love patchouli. If you ever, I all the time people are like, Jen, what are you wearing? I'm like patchouli. It's like super musky, but I don't know. It smells like dirt and it's so grounding. Like it brings me down. But you know
Yeah.
what? I did not know this
It's
that I'm
powerful.
actually, although I'm a Pisces, I'm primarily air signs in my chart.
Oh,
And
that would make
so I need
sense.
to pull myself down to the ground. And that's probably why I like patchouli so much because it brings me back.
It's your grounding. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. That's why knowing your natal chart is so important.
Yes. Yeah. Because I didn't realize that. And then I was like, I don't know nothing about Libra, but my chart is I have a Libra stellium. So I'm like, oh my God, like duh. Like
That makes so much sense.
I think you should
It's why you connect people.
yes, right? Right? It's
That
in like the 10th
partnerships.
house too.
Oh my
Um,
God, of career.
yes, I know, right? I'm like, it's perfect. I should have somebody, maybe you, if you're interested, like come on and use my chart as an example. And like,
Mm,
because I know a lot of people and they know what I do and what I'm up to and what I'm doing. And so I feel like having a
to
real life
spread your chart.
example to see like, oh, and this is how this works, that they
Mhm.
maybe, I'm not trying to make people believers, but just make them more
No.
aware that it might be something that if they knew about it themselves, how they could navigate the waters better.
Yeah, so there was a really quick a client that I worked with. I did his chart, and his sun sign he thought was in Aries. He thought he was in Aries, and so he's like in his 50s or maybe close to 60s. His entire life he had been trying to be Aries, being this Aries presence, and he could never figure out what was wrong with him because he just didn't feel that. He's tried so hard to be it, but he just didn't feel like it was him.
Yeah.
When I did his chart, he's actually a Pisces sun. Man, that his whole world just completely changed. He was just like, no wonder I never felt like I fit in. No wonder I was trying to like be all
Right.
this. Like, this is who like, there was like just relief. And I was like, this is why astrology is so like my love. Like, I love astrology for that reason.
Yeah, and you're so right,
Understand
because all of these different platforms, like I used to read it in the newspaper, they make up their dates, but you actually have to know the time of your birth, the location to make sure it's the
Yes.
right time zone, and the date.
Horoscopes are
Then,
bad.
yeah, horoscopes are bad. That's funny. Um, and then you will know what your true chart is, and like it's like so much more than a sun sign.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so back to cleaning the devices. I
Sure.
digress. Sorry, that was my bad. But such good information. Okay, so clean the devices with soap and water. I've never thought of
Yes.
that. I'm in probably
No.
use alcohol wipes, and then
Befriend.
energetically clear.
And befriend the things that are happening. Like, if you're going on a trip, like, I'm a big intention setter. Like, I'm really big on intention. Like, anytime a client comes to me and they want to do something, like, I even asked you yesterday, I don't know if you caught me, Jen. I was like, well, what's the intention? Like, what's the intention of the interaction? Like, what's the intention of it? Because that tells you a lot. So
Yeah.
set your intention for the trip. Set your intention for this Mercury retrograde. It's in Capricorn. Capricorn is the organizer. It's the planner. It is restrictive. So it does restrict us. It's also corporations, business, government. So I want to also put that out there because we may feel communication limited or restricted during this Mercury retrograde period. So set your intention for what you want to release, what you want to reflect on, what you want to review during this period as it relates to not only your communication, but like long-term goals, long-term planning, anything that you're looking for future, right? Great time, obviously, because we're at the beginning of the year, but anytime really to set the intention for what that future might be. And what is it in the realms of learning, communication, like how you're showing up in those ways? What is it that you want to refresh or step into once this period is over?
Okay.
So you can use this time to work on those things. I would highly recommend, if you're somebody who is struggling to communicate or wants to communicate more or like be heard, like that kind of idea. If you're somebody who struggles with that, this is a really good time to do some work on that. Really good time during this period.
Yep. Yeah, I'm always working on that.
Trust me. Layers.
Well, me and the whole world's pretty much like being seen, being heard, hearing others, seeing others, acknowledging others. Like, it goes both ways. So
yeah, if you want to do videos, if you're like Jen and I both love doing videos. If you're wanting to do that, like this would be a good time to do work around that, or talk. You want to go do a presentation or speak, anything like that.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so we kind of talked about how to prepare for it. Now, how can we use it in our favor?
Ooh. So I'm super big on personal development. So as I said, take this opportunity to use this energy in communication for long-term, for growing and learning long-term, planning. If you're somebody who is a big planner, or maybe somebody who isn't a big planner, somebody who struggles to organize, like maybe you're feeling all over the place, like you're very chaotic, you can use this energy to help you organize, to get kind of settled in, to get more grounded, right? As you said, Jen, like this energy is a very grounding energy for long term. Capricorn is very much, it knows like delayed gratification. It knows like I need to do the work to get to where I'm going. It's not like that, oh, I want it now energy. It's very much like, let me create the things so that I can have this vision or this long-term future that I desire. So work with, right, whatever it is that you personally are working on for this 2022 year. I would highly recommend using this Capricorn time to reflect on that, to review that, to do any like shadow work or energy healing around that.
I feel like this live is just meant for me. I'm off anybody else's watches. Like, it's just a bonus. I'm like over here taking notes. I'm like, yeah, man, this really, really resonates for me right now. I need to do all these things, like, launching my business further and actually getting it up and running and like getting everything in order. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, this is the energy though. Like, you're feeling that, right? Like, you're not the only one feeling that.
Yeah.
I'm sure like, if you're watching this, there's probably an element of you that is feeling like, oh, I gotta do some stuff. I gotta get some stuff organized. We're like getting ready for that.
Yeah.
Like, I know on your event on Wednesday, we're going to talk about Capricorn season because our sun is moving into sidereal Capricorn. And so that is the planning and organizing season. And so we've been like visioning all this time. So if you feel like I should be setting goals or I should have my plan together, Astrology is going to tell you right now that no, you do not need to have your plan together. You can use Capricorn season to actually get it all wrapped up.
The visioning. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so funny because I literally printed out last month on my label maker because I love label making.
Of course you do.
It says action, integration, and embodiment because I've just been doing visioning for like the last 5 years. And like, I've done action and stuff, but I'm like, dude, like it's so in my head that I need to bring it down. And so now this makes me feel better because I'm like, okay, it's like time now. Like I'm
time to ground it.
And then I'm going to do action, integration, and embodiment.
Yay!
So that's perfect. And I see Suzette says she's on the same page as well. So, and I bet you there's tons of people. So let's talk real quick. So there's 2 events coming up. One is we're collaborating together, my event, and you're going to be a part of it. And then you have your own event and both relate to this topic about visioning and planning. So tomorrow I'm doing my very first connection event through the Connected Soul Network. And Dani is super awesome. She's going to be a part of it. And she's going to do a little part of at the beginning about Capricorn season and how we can use that for long-term vision planning. And then we will do some authentic connection breakout rooms is what I'm calling them because I've gone to so many networking events and it's just like, I just don't feel good. I'm also a huge relationship builder, but it doesn't feel good to me when someone comes in and they're like, yeah, and this is what I do, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm happy to know what you do, but like, it just feels like I'm being like there's no authentic connection there. And they're just trying to sell me something and they don't care about me. Right. Mm-hmm. And me, when I ask, I genuinely want to know what people do because I'm a connector. So I'm like, I might know someone that needs your services, or I might have something that you are missing in your business. Like maybe you need a social media planner. I don't know. So that's the premise of the event. If anyone wants to join us, the caption is has the link to it. I can also drop it below. It's only $15. There's going to be a future of these, but this is the initial one. Like, so it's really cool if you get to come and you'd be like, oh, I was at the founding event, like how fun is that? And fun. Like I want to have fun and I want to make sure that we have like authentic connections and people are seen and heard. And yes, you did ask me yesterday the intention. Melissa has turned me into an intention setting person. 100 like
good.
Everything is intentions, right?
Everything.
Mm-hmm. And I never knew like I can really feel people's intentions. Like I can feel when someone drops in my inbox and they start asking me questions. I'm like, they're just looking to try to get to sell me something. Like they're not trying to genuinely connect with me. And that's always my intention. Most of the time sometimes I've dropped in and tried to sell people stuff too, but we
all have.
Right. We all have. And so, yeah, that's the premise of the events. And then your event, your personal event that I found out about yesterday, which is super exciting, is a goal setting event. So if any of this resonated with you today and you're like, I want to learn about astrology and use it in my goal setting, can you tell us about the event? More so
so as I said, Capricorn season is the best time to really set our plans together. So that's what we're going to do. Starting on Sunday, it's a 2-hour workshop where we're going to be right here on Zoom, just hanging out and really creating the space for you to set your goals for 2022. I'm going to talk a little bit about the astrology of 2022 and what kind of what I'm seeing and what to maybe look out for as we go through this 2022 year, so it can help you set your goals. I also did a 4-part series all about reflecting on 2021. So everybody that's been on that journey with me is now ready. We've reflected, we've healed 2021, and now we're ready to step into 2022. So we're going to look at our life categories, we're going to look at our astrology, and we're going to make our 2022 goals. And a couple bonuses with that. If you join the workshop this Sunday with us, you'll get that 4-part reflection and healing for 2021. And I'm adding a 45-minute call with me where I'm going to review your personal 2022 astrology. So give you really good insights into your year. So if astrology is resonating with you, if you're like, I'd really like to learn, or you're just curious, then I'd love to have you. The link is, you probably have it somewhere, but it's thepeaceteacher.com/hello-2022.
I do. I have it in the captions when I made this, to any video, any platform that you're watching, it's in the caption. And they can message me or comment on there as well. So that event sounds super amazing. And I'm all just in itself, like the personal astrology reading is so worth it. I had someone come through my head, so I'm gonna have to message them afterwards and let them know that you have this coming up. So it is 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. And that is the 16th of January. There's always different time zones, so I always want to be as specific as possible in my communication.
Good job.
And make sure that everybody can convert to their own time zones, because I don't know how to do that in my head. I have to Google it. That's California time. All right. Anything else that you want to add before we wrap up here?
Don't be scared of Mercury retrograde. Like, I see people put survival guides out there. Like, don't be afraid of it. Like, befriend it. Mercury is our friend. It's here to help us in our communication, in our learning, in our growing, in our thinking. So, have fun with it. Enjoy the season. Take some time to reflect and work on something really big for you.
Yeah,
That's it.
I love that. I think that's a really good thing to leave off with. Like, it's not a scary thing. It's just knowing is half of the battle and being aware.
G.I. Joe. Sorry.
Always. I love it. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we will get back to them. Oh, and if you want to stay connected with Dani, she is on Instagram. I also put that in the captions as well. And it's Danie C Muniz, Muniz.
Yes.
That's her handle on Instagram. So, all right, stay open and aware and have an amazing day.